Welcome to the Geeks Assembled podcast. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Go for it.
All right, War of the Worlds. This is the version many people are familiar with, having seen it on TV over the years with Gene Barry in it. It is considered a classic, not only by the American Film Institute, but by many other people out there in the world as far as science fiction such is concerned. It is a truly magnificent story, considering that at the time it was shot in the 1950s. It dealt with the Cold War, the threat of nuclear warfare and everything, but it still holds up well today. The entire movie some things may have aged a little bit, but the movie itself, visually and such, still holds up well to this day. If you've not seen it, get it. Rent it. Find a place that has it available on DVD and get it and watch it. Order it off Amazon if you want to, but get it. It is worth getting. As I said, it is considered a classic by many. I would say it's worth a rating of a 9.5, if not a 10, because it is still such a great movie. In fact, the lady of the movie was in some of the episodes of the War of the Worlds TV series as well, so you got double tie-in there. So as I said, watch the movie next time it's on TV, or if you get a chance to find it at a video store, get it. You won't be disappointed. It is considered a classic by AFI. Martians are considered one of the top science fiction horror villains. It's just an all-around great movie, well worth getting and adding to anybody's collection.
What were your favorite characters and other instances?
My favorite character would have to have been Gene Barry's character. He was the lead scientist at the Pacific Coast Institute of Technology. He was the one who brought samples of Martian blood and Martian technology for analysis, so that they try and work on developing something to counteract them. He was the one who was sort of humanity's link to what was going on. The female lead was interesting. She brought something in that was not in the original novel, the idea of religion. Because you read up on H.G.Wells, he was not a religious man. In fact, he was something of a pacifist. He had no love for warfare, and this was something brand new that was brought in specifically for the movie, was the idea of religion, how people reacted to times of crisis.
And do you have anything else to add about about what you saw and what you did and stuff like that? And would you?
All I'll say is this: I've seen the movie several times. I've seen the movie several times on TV. It just holds up so well. It's a well-done movie. Got Oscar nomination for visual effects. Made a boatload of money at the time. It's just one of those movies that if you want to see a classic from the 1950s, the way it's science fiction, this is one you should definitely take a look at, because you will not be disappointed.
Thanks, Harry.
No problem, Susan. You have a good day today.
You too.
Hello, and welcome to Geeks Assembled. And today it is our 1950s movie cast, and we are discussing a film from 1953, very loosely based on the H.G.Wells classic, The War of the Worlds. Yes, and Brief Dad's got the, is it the German version there? But, so let's see what your opening thoughts are on this. It's a very colourful movie. They'll use the colour really well in this. So let's go to Susan first. Opening thoughts on this movie.
Thank you. I was incredibly interested in how they were going to present the alien, the Martian, and the the three-colored eyeball and the ET looking face. That was really great, and I liked how the Professor Forrester and oh my gosh, I can't remember her name now. The female lead was they were amazing, and I love how they were separated and did their own thing and then came back together. I like those story, like the parallelism in that story. And yeah, it was pretty devastating watching the Martians with their heat ray, or whatever they called it, the heat ray, destroy everything in its path. And that was really fun. And so yeah, it's a delightful story. It's scary, good science fiction story. I mean, we know now that having sent the rover to Mars, that there is no life there. However, 40, 50, 60 years ago, we hadn't really explored it that much, so it was still a mystery. And so that's pretty it's a pretty interesting sort of thing. So yeah, that's what I thought to start with.
How about you, Alex? What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's also interesting too how it seems to be going around in cycles a little bit. I mean, H.G. Wells did inspire a lot of fantastical writing, and even Doctor Who and other science fiction and other fantasy shows. And then the actual, radio show, the actual movie, and the book, how they've all sort of inspired, depending on which version you take, inspired science fiction, even though it was a little bit on the cheesy movie, us versus them dichotomy. But it's still very enjoyable. H.G. Wells is a great writer. Obviously, he inspired a lot of people. The movie is good. I think people are still stealing from it today. I could mention names, but I won't. And and I mean, that's still pretty good. But the concepts and the plots, just like other writers, which you all mentioned, still keep inspiring decade after decade. I think this is one of those movies too that inspired a lot of people.
Thanks for that, Alex. We'll go over to Jason and we'll see what his in-depth thought is on this movie.
I was a bit lost in this movie, probably due with the characters itself, but the effects, I love the effects. I mean, the effects I think were definitely great. I definitely like the fact that how they had the whole meteor fall down, how they had the effect like the meteor was a blue flaming light falling down. Thought that was pretty good. The effects of the three alien eyes, definitely like that, and the snake machine looking thing that just like creeps around, and when that was being attacked, I guess it was bleeding in a way. Yeah, I definitely like the fact that they had the radioactive ship that was burning way sparks at people and burning them into dust or ashes, I should say, and that was pretty interesting. But the characters on it just all mixed mashed. I mean, couldn't get into what the characters are doing much into it, other than trying to stop it. But when it turns out, what ended up stopping it was the germs. Ended up being germs in the end, apparently. I guess that lasted quite a while, but yeah.
Well, so you mentioned the effects. So if I remember rightly, this won an Oscar for special effects back in the day. So I think that was the only award it did win. Talking of our very own Oscar winner, Beef Dad, what's your first impressions of this movie?
Oh. Well, I remember seeing it when it first came out. I was, 5? No, I didn't see it when it first came out. I saw it a few years later. And that few years had given me time to read the book. And the book is brilliant, but it is nothing like the film. The whole place, the whole thing in the book takes place in Surrey, London, and the surrounding areas. Oddly enough, of all people, and surprisingly, Cecil B. DeMille was the producer, the executive producer of this, but had his name taken off the credits. Makes you wonder why, doesn't it? Perhaps it is because, excellent though some of their special effects were, they bore absolutely no relation to the Martians in the book. There was the spaceship bore no resemblance to the spaceships that arrive in the book. What arrives and what crashes into the Earth are cylinders. No mention is made of the seeds that they bring with them, possibly by accident. You have the red vines that climb up trees and just strangle them to death in no time at all. And then there is the red weed, which chokes up rivers and streams, encouraging flooding, just grows everywhere. There is just so much. The commentary, you've got Cecilia Cardick doing the commentary, but the awful thing about it is, as I say, it bears absolutely no resemblance to the book. Zero resemblance to the book. The description of the Martians in the book is totally different to the Martians that you see on screen. The Martians you see on screen have hands with three like suckers on the ends of their fingers. The Martians in the book have no arms. They have a set of 8 tentacles either side of a V-shaped mouth. And of course the other thing that is not mentioned at all in the film is the nutrient that keeps the Martians going. With them, they have brought sort of bipeds from Mars, a slightly different species, whose blood they drink, because they have no internal organs for digestion. So they take blood directly into their system. And that's what they start to do with the human beings in England, because they carry a big basket around on the back of solid tripod legs, not magnetic rays. And there are tentacles, metal tentacles that come out of the thing that grab people and throw them into the basket at the back, treating people like cows, but instead of milk, it's blood. So as far as that is concerned, that's my feeling about it. And I can tell you, I read the book again today so that I would be able to speak from the definite point of view. Fortunately, I'm a speed reader, and I read the whole book this morning. That having been said, if they hadn't tried to say this is the War of the Worlds by H.G.Wells, I would have said that this was quite a good little film. But to try and pull in people by saying this is by H.G. Wells is crap, because it isn't by H.G. Wells. It's nothing like anything that H.G. Wells wrote, except for the basic concept.
Yeah. I wanted to ask a question.
And that's it. No, I was just finishing.
No. I want to ask you a question, Big Dad, but please the host. What did you feel the point of the book was, Big Dad? Was there a point to the book? Was it all Cold War, or was there some other motivation you feel? Or not?
They weren't having a Cold War when this was written. This was written in the late 1800s.
Okay. So what did you think the point of the book was? Was it just telling a story, or
The point of the book was it was telling a story, very much like the Time Machine did.
Okay. So you didn't feel there was any us and them type of thing, or any?
No, there was none of that.
So Hollywood sort of made it that way, kind of. The movie.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
We got that cleared up. My impression of this movie then. I totally agree with Beef Dad. It just bears no resemblance to the book at all, and they don't even have Richard Baton's narration either, which it could have done with. It's what can I say? It's as I said, it's a very, very colourful film. They use colours really well. Is a 1950s B movie because the acting it's not top-rated acting at all, really. Especially what's the lead actress's name? Is it Anne Robinson? Not the Anne Robinson, by the way. But you know, when she's with Gene Barry in the farmhouse, and she's screaming her head off. I was just wanting to slap her. It wasn't very good acting at all. But yeah, it's the book. You've got the tripod things. You haven't got these flying saucers on electrical field things. You haven't got the stocks. But it is what it is. The 1950s was just full of these atomic alien invasion, Cold War, sci-fi B movies. This one was more prolific than most of them because of the H.G.Wells loosely connection. What I know about it was that the rights to it was sold to somebody in Hollywood. H.G.Wells' son tried to get the movie made but couldn't because he no longer have the rights. Maybe this is why Cecil B. DeMille took his name off the producer's thing, but maybe this is why it was totally different. Maybe the Wells family didn't wanted really to have anything to do with it. But I don't know. It is what it is. It's a colourful alien invasion B movie. Special effects, as I say, it got an award back then. But when we're rewatching it today, I'm sat there and thinking, I can see the strings. I can see the strings. You can see the strings holding the saucers up, but hey, most of those films nowadays you can see it. But yeah, so on that note, was there any favourite moments or moments what you absolutely hated acting-wise, or let's open the floor?
I love the moment when the if you want to call it that, on the end of the tentacle came in looking round for Gene Barry and Anne Robinson, because you could see the wire. I recommend anybody to watch that scene so that you could see the wire. It is just brilliant. It's as if they didn't really make any great effort to disguise it. You were talking about performances. Anne Robinson was, yes, a bit of a screaming Minnie, but I think that's what she was told to do. But what I did find very disconcerting was Gene Barry's Dr. Forrester. He wandered around with a sort of almost bored expression on his face, as if he really couldn't be bothered with it, or as if it really didn't make a lot of difference for him what happened and what went on. There never seemed to be anything in his face that showed any real emotion.
Wooden. The technical word is wooden.
Wooden, yes. Yeah, but then I've seen the cartoon of Pinocchio, and he showed a lot more on his face than that, and he was wooden. But yeah, the one moment that always stood out to me, I thought to myself, the man is completely mad. He's a complete idiot. Was the Astor, when he goes out to try and make peace with them, and he does the 23rd Psalm as he's walking towards them, and then he's there momentarily and it's gone. Yeah, and I think to myself, there isn't even a moment slightly like that in the book. There is nobody who is that stupid. But yeah, really crazy, really crazy. But I also like the scenes in the churches where he was running around to all the different churches trying to find her at the end. I mean, the difference was, of course, in the book, the narrator of the book, his wife goes to hide out with his cousins in Leatherhead, and he finally meets up with his wife again after it's all over at their house. And yeah, as I say, there is absolutely nothing nothing to sort of meld it with the book at all.
Well, I mean, again, the effects were good, and it did set a style. I wonder, did they do it on purpose, or did they just say, oh, we just want a fun movie with a little bit of aliens in it? Because that's the other thing. It sort of reminds me of the other movies like E.T. and Close Encounters. And I'm sorry to bring up other names, but to see the reaction, too, of people that really loved it, people that kind of like, or it's entertainment, or, you know what I mean? So that's another thing. Is it just a piece of art, or is it just movie entertainment? And they just put on H.G.Wells because technically it was his book, even though it has almost nothing to do with it.
Me personally, I think they just added the H.G.Wells on. If people knew the book, and also they knew the radio broadcast a few years before that, people would come to see the movie. That's what they were trying to do, sell the movie.
So
if they've got, yeah. So if they attach the H.G.Wells name with this War of the Worlds, well, it's not even an adaptation, but it, you know, and they know the radio broadcast what had the people panicking in the streets. They think, oh wow, let's go and look at, you know, they've made a movie of the radio broadcast.
Orson Welles.
Yeah, Orson Welles, yeah. But it's nothing like the radio broadcast either.
Right, so that's why I mentioned, you know, different versions. But that's the thing. Did they do it on purpose to say, okay, we're going to have fun, quote-unquote cheesy sci-fi, movie, and not really concentrate on anything intellectual?
The thing that was really interesting about the one that Tom Cruise was in later was that it was kind of a melding of the two. It was a melding of the actual story, except for in America, of course, and for all intents and purposes, all these things are appropriated, even misappropriated to America when they're done here. Anyway.
Well, let's not forget about the Canadian TV version.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that there was one.
Yeah, there was a Canadian TV version.
So but the other one had them, had more elements apparently from the way you two have described the book, had more elements of connection with the book than this one, than this movie did.
I tell you, a part what made me sort of laugh was where this landed, the first one, and all the village was gathering around it, blah blah blah. Then the doctor's Geiger counter went off. Oh, it's radioactive. Do you think we should pay? Yeah, that just shows you back then they didn't really understand the consequences of radiation. They just used it in science fiction as it's radioactive. What was that, Beef Dad?
Oh, no, I think they must have understood consequences of radiation because it was 8 years after Hiroshima.
Yes, but what I'm saying is,
Don't you think?
I mean, they're all stood there. They think, oh, when somebody mentions radiation, they're just still wondering about. And they're thinking, if you hear the word radiation, you're out of there. But say the 1950s movies was full of all this the atomic age, the radiation.
2 years later, you had This Island Earth, which was all about trying to do that. But the thing is, at least This Island Earth was original and didn't pretend to be something else.
Yeah, I mean, some people have argued that movie's cheesy too, but in a different way. That's the other thing.
It has a certain amount of cheese to it, but at least it's original cheese.
Right, that's true. That's very true. They don't steal somebody else's land.
It's not pretending to be something it isn't.
Most 1950s sci-fi is cheese.
Yeah.
Some is real mature, some is brie.
Well, like what was it? What year was Invasion of Body Snatch? 59.
Body Snatchers. Ooh. I know the remake was 79.
They've done tons of remakes.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, maybe it was just meant to be loosely based, and maybe they decided, no, we're just going to make a fun movie. You can't have everything intellectual either. Not much.
If you took away the H.G.Wells name, and you've never saw the movie before, you would never realise that it was from this book written in 1897 or something like that. But it didn't need the H.G.Wells connection at all.
Body Snatchers was 1956.
56. Okay, I apologize for being 3 years old.
Hold on.
Well, where's he gone? We scared him off.
So 19. All right, I apologize.
It's to me.
What's he going to produce?
Let's do a rating and I mean, unless there's more to discuss, right?
Yeah. So we'll move on as Susan rightly put. Thanks for that prompt. We'll go to the final say. Shall we go for the vote at the scoring as well? So anybody who wants to go first? The floor is open.
All right, I'll start. I wondered how how beautiful it was compared to the way that I saw it when I heard it on the old timey radio, and I really enjoyed this movie. Although I enjoyed it, but it was not like super sparkly. So I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Thanks for that, Susan. What about Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it different times. The acting is pretty bad, I think, actually. I'll venture to say. I know I'm opinionated. I would say the effects are very good for the time. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with H.G.Wells. It should have just said aliens come to the planet or some other name would have been more realistic. But I think they probably did this just to have fun with it, just to sell. The effects are good. The aliens do look a little alien, but the book would write it much better, and there have been better versions and better stories of a similar vein. But in the 1950s, I'd say style-wise or visual effects-wise, or just the environment of the movie, I'd probably give it a 7, maybe a 7.5 for the effects. And it did inspire some people, but yeah, there's better versions and better stories.
Cheers for that, Alex. Jason, what's your final say?
Well, the effects, I would rate that an 8 out of 10. The reason why is because of some blinking into it, like the flashing one could probably cause a pulsing seizure, because I can tell I got a bit dizzy off of that. The acting, I rate that a 4 out of 10. With Ray Brief Guys mentioned about how it compared to the book and the movie, then I have to rate that a 0 out of 10, because of the fact that since they didn't compare itself to the story itself, the book, that's like the insult to the writer. I mean, unless you want to decide to make it as a parody, they should have done it that way, instead of saying, oh, it came from H.G.Wells, when it wasn't compared to the book itself, which is an insult to us story writers. But for the movie itself, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 10.
Wow. All right, let's brace ourselves. What's Beef Dad has to say?
Well, H.G. Wells was born in 1866 and wrote this in 1898. So not only is it inaccurate in location, in description, it's inaccurate in period, because it's been brought up to the present day in America, and it also was supposedly worldwide. In the book, it is not. It is localized. So it's an adaptation of a book, because they used H.G. Wells's name in all their publicity. H.G. Wells, War of the Worlds. It's not H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. It's America's War of the Worlds. It gets a total 0, because you can't do negative amounts on here for an adaptation. And for accuracy, the acting was, I mean, it's why it was called a B movie. The acting is dreadful in it. Gene Barry went on to do much better things later, but this was a total and utter disaster. And basically the only good bit was her screaming, because screaming like that and still being able to talk afterwards is quite a job. So he gets a 2 out of 10 for me on that, but an overall 1.
Ouch. It can be so scathing at times. I don't know. Well, my God. If you scrap the H.G.Wells connection, take it for what it is. It's an alien B movie of the 1950s. As we've discussed, it's nothing to do with H.G. Wells. But as I say, the acting, very, very wooden. As Beef Dad just said, it's a B movie, and every B movie, it was wooden acting. But it's an enjoyable, it's only 80 minutes long. It's an enjoyable little film. It's, it's nothing like the book. So as you say, scrap the H.G. Wells connection, take it for what it is, alien invasion film of 1950s little American town. And for that reason, I'm giving it a 7 because I love B movies. Don't give me that face, Beef Dad. I like just sitting down watching B movies because I find them quaint and it's funny to watch because they don't make them like that anymore. It's something what they should be making stuff like this just to bring back the memories of all this, the day the Earth stood still and stuff like that. Plan B from outer space. Brilliant movies. What were terrible, but brilliant to watch.
The Blob.
The Blob. Ah, well, I think The Blob's a classic myself. Can't be a bit of Steve McQueen.
And it's original.
It came from outer space and the Thing and the movie Down.
Yeah, there's loads and loads of them, and they're just quaint little films that you've never heard of the actors before, and you never will again. But it was these, a Saturday matinee drive-in cinema sort of thing in the 1950s, where if I had a time machine, that's where I'd go. Anyway, I digress. We'll finish this now. Alex, thank guys here for taking part in this celebration of H.G. Wells' classic, The War of the Worlds. No comment from Beef Dad there. You must have gone in shock. But I would like, I would like to say thanks, guys, for watching our videos. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on Tumblr as well. You can find us there. We're on Twitter. All the information's below on these videos. Please leave your comments. You love us, you hate us. You wish dreaded leggy on us. Whatever you want to wish upon us. And please tell us, give us some suggestions of what movies we can put into our decade era movie cast, because every week we do a different decade. Next time we say we're doing the 1960s, and then after that 70s, 80s, 90s, and then we go around in a circle, so we're just spreading them out more, so we're not getting clumped with one era of movie. So without further ado, I would just like to say thank you for watching, thank you for being our friends. Until next time.